Hi, I'm Hannah Beckerman and my debut novel is called The Dead Wife's Handbook. The Dead Wife's Handbook is a story about an emotional journey, and so I wanted to research it in the way that you would research a physical journey, like a road trip or something. So I did a lot of reading around memoirs about grief and loss, like Joan Didion and C.S. Lewis. I read a lot of psychology around how different people cope with grief, and the book is based around the 7 stages of love, so Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's book was absolutely critical in my research. Favourite authors include people like Nicole Krauss, Sarah Waters, Ian McEwan, Julian Barnes, people who are really great storytellers but also really interested in the nuances of human relationships as well. But I also tend to go on titles and recommendations as much as I do on authors. So books that I loved recently are things like The Husband's Secret by Leanne Moriarty and Instructions on a Heatwave by Maggie O'Farrell. I think one of the funniest things when you tell people that you've written a book is that the first question they always ask is, am I in it? And when you tell them they're not, I don't know whether people are secretly relieved or disappointed. The fact is that when you write and when you create characters, they are essentially made up, but I think you do borrow fragments and mannerisms from people that you know. So people might recognise a little bit of themselves in various characters here or there. The other thing that happened after friends and family had read The Dead Wife's Handbook is that everyone seemed to have a different opinion about which character I was in the book, whether I was Harriet or Eve or Rachel. And actually, I think I'm a little bit of all of them, but none of them in their entirety. One of my biggest distractions when I'm writing is staring out of the window. I'm terrible for that, and I can sometimes spend 15 or 20 minutes just looking out the window and then come back and realise that I haven't done anything for ages. But I always try and convince myself that actually there's some kind of work going on in my brain while I'm doing it. In terms of rituals, I always have to have a very hot, very milky, very chocolatey cup of coffee in the morning when I write, and I always have to have a bag of Skittles in the afternoon. And I'm sure if you took both those things away, I would be fine, but I've never wanted to risk it. I think the online book blogging community is a really interesting phenomenon at the moment, because I think even 5 years ago it was all about journalists in magazines and newspapers who were recommending and reviewing books, but actually I think that balance is shifting. I think the book blogging community have a huge influence now on whether a book is successful and whether it's talked about, but also it's a place that people are really passionate about books, and I think as an author you not only want to be part of it but you want to be supportive of it too. I think the advice for aspiring writers is really simple. It's write, write and write some more. And when you're not writing, read everything you can get your hands on. I think it's completely true that the way that you become a writer is by writing a lot. And I think that when you tell people that you're having your debut novel published, I think lots of people think that you kind of wrote your first book and sent it off and somebody bought it. Actually, I've got 3 or 4 unfinished manuscripts sitting in the bottom drawer of my desks that will never see the light of day because they're terrible, ranging over kind of the last 15 years. So it's definitely all about writing as much as you can. My most treasured possession is probably a box of letters and photographs and notes from my grandparents. I think if there was a fire in my house, that would be the first thing I'd save, because everything else like wedding rings and engagement rings and computers can be replaced, but that can't. I don't keep a diary or a journal, but I am one of those people who tends to wake up in the middle of the night thinking they've come up with a brilliant idea. So I do tend to keep a notebook by the side of the bed, but then I also tend to wake up in the morning and realise it wasn't such a brilliant idea after all. I don't know which words or phrases I overuse. I suspect at the moment I overuse no and good girl quite a lot because I have a toddler and I think I end up saying those quite a lot every day. No, it's a secret. A quickfire round now? Okay. Coffee. Word processed. Dress. Heels. Restaurant. Wouldn't know either of them. Uni and J because they're penguin. Both. Wine. Depends on the season. Gosling. Natural. Twitter. Strictly. Scrabble because I beat my husband. Classical. Book every time.